Okay, this is a video on basic chord formation, how to learn new chords. It's for beginners, advanced people also. We're going to work with 3 chords in this particular lesson. The D chord, the A chord, and the E chord. So you'll have the tablature for these chords or the chord charts. But the way you want to think of them are shapes. So this D chord is a triangle shape. The A chord, although all 3 fretted spaces are at the 2nd fret, your fingers are shaped like a triangle. It's kind of hard to see like this, but your fingers are in a triangle. And then when you slide down to the E chord, it's also kind of like a triangle, although it's not like a perfect triangle. Now, the key to moving from one chord to the other is the least amount of movement as possible. In other words, your fingers do not go flying up like this in between chords. You want to just have them slide across the strings. Okay? So here's the D shape. 1st finger, 2nd fret, 3rd string. 2nd finger, 2nd fret, 1st string. Middle finger, 3rd fret, 2nd string. So when you get that shape, you might have to walk into it, like 1, 2, 3. But once you get that shape, the goal is to put them down all at the same time. So once you have them down, you want to make sure that they ring cleanly, just like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just barely lift your fingers up so they don't leave the string. They're still touching the string, and you should get this muted sound, which is, and then you push them back down. So I don't know if you can see my fingers like flexing my arm, flexing a little bit. So it should be like, and then you hold it for a couple of seconds, and then you release, but they never leave the string. And then you push them down again. It's just the amount of energy to properly fret the string. So you get a nice clean sound. And then you release a little of the pressure. Do not let them go off of the string. They should always touch the string, and then you'll hear that muted sound. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Push them down. So you just keep repeating that. And what will happen is, it's called physical muscle motor memory. Your fingers are just going to memorize that shape. So ideally, you just put them down all at one time. Now in the beginning, you are going to have to, like what we call, walk into them, meaning putting a single finger down on a single string. But the goal is to get it so they all go down at exactly the same time. So that's the D chord. When we go to the A chord, this 1st finger never leaves the string. It just slides down a little bit. So we still have 1st finger, 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Then you're moving, your 2nd finger is the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Your 3rd finger is the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. That's what it should sound like if you strum all of them. But we only are concerned about the fretted strings because we're trying to build up the strength. So your goal is to just put all 3 of those down at one time. It's kind of hard to see, but they're shaped like a triangle. So that's the way they fit in. So with that, you'll go nice clean sound. Then you barely lift them up. They're still touching the string. And you, oops, see, I was pushing too hard there. That's okay if it's like, but the point is to exert energy to fret the chord and then release the energy. In other words, don't push down, but they still never leave the string. That way, there's very little movement. So back to the D chord, A chord, and then they're all related to the E chord. So your first finger slides down to the first fret of the third string. And then second finger, second fret, fifth string, third finger, second fret of the fourth string. These are all major chords. So that's the E chord. All right? So eventually, you'll be able to make all three of these chords individually. Just put down the E, put down the A, put down the D. The key to these three chords together, if we play them together, it's called a progression, is that this first finger really never leaves the third string. It just releases the pressure. So for the D chord, that note with the first finger is actually called an A note. That's a common note with the A chord, obviously. And then you slide it down to the first fret. That's a G sharp, which makes the E chord. So your goal is to be able to just smoothly go from one chord to the other. And what's really going to help you is that first finger. Whenever you're changing from one chord to another, if there are common notes, a note that's the same in both chords, then that finger usually never moves. It's just going to stay there. Just like this. Here's the D. First fingers, first finger, and then it just slides down one. So for a quick recap, if you have to walk into them, that's fine. If you need to go 1, 2, 3 for the A, or 1, 2, 3 for the E, that's how you start. But your goal is to be able to put down all the fingers at exactly the same time. So the more you practice this, the faster you're going to learn it. The faster you learn this, the faster you'll be able to play songs. And this is only fretting hand technique. But the goal with your right hand, the picking hand, is to make sure we're only really concerned about the fretted notes, the strings we're pushing down. Because the open strings, they just stay open. Now you don't want to touch them or interfere with them. So in the beginning, that might be a small issue. But no matter what, by doing this exercise, you're also going to be building up your calluses, because it's just like repetition of the tips of your fingers. They're used to having that pressure of the strings on them. So they just get stronger. And eventually it will be very easy and smooth. You'll pick up speed. So there's a quick 10-minute lesson on 3 different chords. You can work on them individually, and then eventually you'll put them together. So if you want to spend 5 minutes just doing the D chord, 5 minutes on the A chord, 5 minutes minutes on the E chord, however you want to do it. You get a little tired, you move on to something else. But the only way you're going to learn to play the guitar and to fret these chords is with practice. The more you put in, the more you'll get out, and the quicker you'll be able to make music and play songs. And then we'll do other videos for different chords at another time. So practice and build up your finger strength.